Well, it was a little bit lower than expected, to be honest, which, if you're 4 Zoomers, I do not think you care. You still come away with the win, but ET, as you mentioned, I think things are going to be maybe a little bit more active for both sides at this time around, as 4 Gringos coming in with the Earthshaker with the 4th selection. 4 Zoomers, meanwhile, going for that Undying. All right.
Okay. Well, you see a 4, or rather a strength 4. You don't see your entire offlane yet. This could very well be a Batrider offlane, but there are a lot of strength heroes in this game, and a lot of strength heroes that don't like being kited and don't exactly like hitting this tomb either. So I like the pick a lot.
Mhm.
We'll have to see. Again, Undying is another hero that we've seen played offlane, moved around position-wise. If this is an Undying offlane and a 4 Monkey King, I wouldn't be surprised at all from 4 Zoomers. They're just going to keep us guessing all the way until this game is more or less over here. You even see with the Razor ban, did I think Razor was going to get picked? Not really. Does it make sense on paper for 4 Gringos to ban it? Yes, they do have a Sven in their lineup, but it just feels like no matter what they ban here, 4 Zoomers can navigate around it. I really don't think, similar to the previous game, there are any lane setups where they're going to be unhappy with what they end up having to play.
Right. And that's just something that we really praise 4 Zoomers for, even with their previous sort of version of this lineup. Obviously, there were some changes bringing in some new players, but they've retained that sort of drafting style. They focus on that flexibility maybe every once in a while to their own detriment, but for the most part, it just keeps your opponents guessing. It puts them on the back foot, and either they take a guess at what you're planning and it could be wrong, or they ignore what you're planning and try to focus on themselves, which means that you're basically freed up to do whatever you want. We saw it in that previous draft, and may very well be seeing it here as well. 4 Gringos, one last ban, but I mean, at this point, I'm not entirely sure if they know exactly what they should be banning here. That flexibility from 4 Zoomers really just kind of makes life difficult for them.
Well, because on paper, if you're looking at 4 Zoomers lineup, if you just go by what could be your gut feeling here, it's most likely going to be a Eternal Envy Clinks. I'd probably say it's going to be a Gunner Pango, and then you would say it's got to be a Husky Undying, and then followed by a Z Freak Monkey King. But they're banning out mid laners because they're worried about them shifting things around. It just feels like, again, it's the flexibility. This is something that you had to do in the previous patch when you had last pick. Now it definitely does feel like a luxury. Last pick is just so good. It's so good compared to first pick. There's really not too many things that you can spin in your favor. You do have this cheeky double pick in the second phase, but really, if you don't have a solid opener, first pick is pointless pretty much at this point.
4 Zoomers closing out their bans with the removal of the Veno. So Prophet and Veno taken away. For Gringos, though, they're going to go for that Vengeful Spirit and the offlane Venge, I would assume here, with the Omni and the Earthshaker in those two supporting roles. It's something that has been picking up some popularity in recent times. So we'll see what 4 Gringos look to do with that. I don't know if it's going to be that sort of straight Aghanim Scepter rush or not, but you mentioned earlier on, ET, this was going to be maybe a more interesting and more entertaining game no matter what. The Venge is definitely going to play into that.
Yeah, and a very good hero versus both the Monkey King and the Clinks. You're very obnoxious. You put the Clinks into 5 heroes, the skeleton's going to die. Positioning is so important on Clinks. If you can catch him off guard, if you can literally swap him onto the low ground, he's going to be in a whole hell of trouble. As well as Monkey King, where now you have a guaranteed way to cancel out that ring. It's really just a perfect Venge game. I really don't see too many flaws in it. As well as shoring up your offlane, where if you had to stick with it, Batrider Earthshaker really doesn't feel that great versus Undying. It just feels like that would be the stopper to whatever Hero Eternal Envy would end up playing here. So, like the Venge a lot. And you even see now they've said, we're going to pick this offline Venge. We're going to make it so that way Kits is going to be on this Batrider. Do you want to put Pango versus Batrider mid? And that is a question that 4 Zoomers have answered before with simply yes, Gunner will go and solo kill you. I think that was in their No Ping series where it was day one Pango, so really nobody knew how broken Shield Crash was, but still, when a Pango is able to kill Batrider at any point in Dota, you know you're in a little bit of a strange spot here. And they'll go for Oracle.
All right.
Okay.
Not exactly the kind of hero that I was expecting in that slot, but we'll see who takes what. That is going to give us our sort of clarification. Husky will be the Oracle. That's going to put Z-Freak on the Monkey, and Moo will play that core Undying. So, well, mystery solved, and ET, you were kind of maybe alluding to this a little bit there. That Undying going to get shifted away from that usual support position.
Yeah, and it makes complete sense because you're laning versus Omni Sven, you're going to get those double decays. You really need to be so careful with how you lane bottom because it is a lane that is going to start to snowball out of control. I think Z Freak needs to be a little bit cautious at maybe level 1 to 2, where if he does decide to commit for those Jingu stacks, can definitely get punished. Purify is just so efficient when it comes to those trades, but it really is going to be a waiting game. I feel like we're going to see DNM rotate out a lot sooner. But I'm really excited to see what Mu ends up building in this game because this offlane Undying, it keeps on getting more and more speed. It's a very strong hero. It's a very entertaining hero to watch, especially when every single hero in the game is sitting minus, 15, 20 strength.
So, yeah, I honestly am not entirely sure. We'll see how it goes with Mu sort of in that core role for Gringos, though. I gotta say, I like what they put together here, maybe a little bit more than what they had in Game 1. Game 1, we were sort of talking about their lineup maybe having some potential as well, but this feels like it's going to be maybe easier to execute for them compared to the timings they needed to hit in Game 1 that, unfortunately, they weren't really able to sort of take full control of. So this time around, I think it's going to be a little bit easier for them. They've got a little bit more in the way of maybe defensive power as well with the Omni and the Venge, just in case things don't go according to plan for them.
Yeah, and it's the age-old Dota game where one team is very, very adept at saving, and then the other team is going to be slightly worse at saving, but they need to hit their targets. If 4 Gringos ever miss, you're now playing into an Oracle. If your initiation goes off without a bang, then you are going to be stuck in a fight where there is a monkey ring and a tombstone and a Penga rolling on top of you. It's very similar ideas to the previous draft, but now you just need to hit your mark. If you hit your mark, I think 4 Gringos can keep that momentum. If they can't, I think we're going to see a very similar game to Game 1.
So the lineup may look a little bit different, but at the end of the day, it's going to be sort of the same overall feel for 4 Gringos. You've got your timings. You know what you need to do. If you can do it, well, maybe they have a chance to knock off 4 Zoomers here and take the 1-1 draw. Otherwise, things could go downhill pretty quickly. So see what it is they have up their sleeves. Little Nick getting his way over, dropping down the sentry in the obs ward. So we saw pretty much the same thing in Game 1. The positioning is a little bit different, a little less obvious maybe with the ward placement, but the overall game plan is going to be the same here. Get that vision down, maybe see if they can swipe away a creep wave or two, affect that equilibrium, and try to put Envy in a bad way. It didn't quite pan out for them in the previous match. We mentioned repeatedly that Envy was really just sort of keeping that wave in between the towers for himself, but they're going to give it another go, because honestly, you can't let Envy just run away with the game early.
And I think that Nick, as much as he was trying in that previous game, 0, 1, and 5 on Mirana, it was a low kill game, but you never felt like that Mirana was ever extremely effective. You just never felt like Nick was actually able to spin that hero in some aggressive way. But now you're on the Shaker, you're on a hero that is gonna make a little bit more sense here, as well as I think Nick playing a lot more Shaker than he does play his Mirana. But I also like this bottom lane a lot more. Having Venge and Earthshaker, if you ever catch out Husky, it is going to feel really bad. At the same time, Envy does have a few less options when it does come to just going to that jungle, saying, I don't want to lane versus you guys anymore, I'm going to go do something else. And here we go, the creep block, going to keep Giant pretty much under the tower when it comes to farming this first wave.
Nifty play from Lil Nick there just to start us off. So it'll be interesting to see what this duo can put together. This is going to get kind of interesting if they can combine up those stuns, and if they can sort of bait Envy or honestly even Husky a little bit too far forward, then they're going to be sort of trapped on the wrong side of that fissure for quite some time. Then it comes down to really how much early damage Giant will have. But for now, Envy, just look at him go. Firing away with those searing arrows. He is really doing a lot of damage here. Giant and Lil Nick, okay, maybe not Lil Nick, he only has boots, but Giant came to the lane prepared with pretty much 2 full stacks of tangos, so he is going to be able to absorb a lot of that damage, but the fact that Envy's just sort of going at him right now feels like he knows what he needs to do to try and take control of the lane. As Husky, good attempt. Lil Nick, though, faster with the reaction.
Yeah, the only unfortunate thing about this lane is you are always going to feel the damage coming from searing arrows on this Venge. You're not going to be able to get items like the Vanguard up early. You're just not playing a big beefy offlaner. And while I like this Venge a lot, this is going to be a very free lane for the Clinks, as well as the weakness of the Earthshaker. You're not going to see these heroes really be able to lane just straight up into the Clink's Oracle. Just these ranged heroes trade way too efficiently. And actually, Giant.
He's in some trouble. There's going to be the root coming in, and the barrage. Only level 1, but that's going to be more than enough. Husky... Actually, Husky's the one who got the kill there. That didn't seem likely, but that's the way it goes. First blood over to 4 Zoomers in this bottom lane. Not exactly going the way 4 Gringos may have wanted initially. The Venge dies, and the little Nick's going to take the time to go all the way back to base, which means Envy is really just hanging out here alone.
Yeah, and of course, Husky, it's Oracle tax. Your Oracle is always going to take the kills from you. It's maybe it's an intentional thing, maybe it's unintentional, but it just feels like they are going to need to wait for this Bat Rider to really help them save this lane. And that mid lane hasn't been the worst for Kit so far, but that is going to be the guaranteed rotation. Once he has maybe those boots of travel, we're going to see him get a lot more active on the map, and he needs to, especially with how poorly this bottom lane really is going. Giant is really only getting levels at this point, but I don't think that's going to be enough.
Yeah, much like what we saw in Game 1 with that Night Stalker, and there's actually the thing that's going to be a little bit more unfortunate. On the Night Stalker, you could maybe still get away with having a little bit less farm, but on a core Venge, it feels like that's going to be a little bit less likely for him to still have the same kind of impact without that itemization. So, not really sure how much they can do to try and get him going. You can't really rotate anyone at this stage in the game, so he may just sort of have to sort of grin and bear it for a while, but it's not a great situation. Last hit-wise, yeah, 3 for Giant. Little Nick has more just kind of casually throwing out stuns. It's not great.
Yeah, and
they do have Husky, though. Good stun.
Yeah.
And Husky, he's going to try and pop the stick. Not enough. Envy, not in a great position HP-wise to go charging into that fight either. So, just when we said they had to get Giant going somehow, that's going to be a nice little kill to even up the overall kill count, and the Venge can at least get some money that way.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that Husky gave them that opportunity. I spoke a little bit about how important the Clinks' positioning would have to be here, but instead Husky is just really far up in the lane. Of course, you feel confident on this hero. You are at that level 3 point. Level 3 Oracle is so strong when you have that second point Purifying Flames. It really just comes out of nowhere and blindsides people a lot of the time, but you do have to be cautious of those Fissure blocks up. And Nick, not skip it a beat. He's been really good with all of his Fissures so far, at least at securing some of those range creeps, making sure his offlaner isn't falling too far behind. But unfortunately, you're not seeing him able to grab those waves nearly as easily as we saw in the previous game. But here, it looks like at least Giant will be able to get some XP off the small camp.
Sending in the wave, just doing what he can. And not really seeing any immediate pushover from Envy. He is going to maybe inch his way over now, but he's trying to maintain the equilibrium in the lane with his own wave, so can't really afford to go all the way over. But if you're Envy, I think you're still really just okay with this. Sure, Giant's able to get a little bit more in that situation, but they're not really slowing you down any. 23 and 6 now for that Clink, so he is feeling just fine to this point. Meanwhile, do want to ask you, ET, this top lane. DNM, 14 last hits, not exactly ideal. Z-Freak's been kind of harassing him pretty frequently as we actually see him snipe out the courier there, and the help from 4 Gringos is not here at the moment. Kara's kind of been drifting around this west side jungle over the last minute or two.
And this is the problem with this top lane. It has become a liability for Kara to play with his teammates here. I'm guessing those early levels just didn't go their way, and once you give a few too many levels over to Mu, then this Undying becomes an absolute monster in lane. You see even DNM just pulling for himself, just trying to do whatever he can to get the wave under control, but we even see the max level decay coming out from Mu. This is going to be a very farmed Undying, and not a hero you really hear that from often, but this hero just becomes so obnoxious so quickly. The decay change really revitalized this hero in a very interesting way.
And, like, how confident do you have to be feeling to say, you know what? Soul Rip, no. Don't need it. I'm going max decay. I'm putting 2 points in Tombstone. Because they can't kill me. Like, that's so out of the ordinary. Of course, most of the time we see Undying in the support, so having a point in the Soul Rip kind of makes a little bit of sense, but Mu doesn't need it. There's been no significant pressure applied to him, and he's just going to sit there. Anytime the Sven and Omni come forward, he'll just spam it out, and the thing about this is now you see Z-Freak, he's kind of freed up as well. This is devolving into just a 1v1 in the top lane, which means the Monkey King is going to start moving his way into the jungle. Moo's actually coming over as well, and they're going to try to steal the stacks. This is going to be brutal if 4 Gringos can't hold it.
And they really can't hold it. Who could come over here right now? You see Nick and Kits trying to make that rotation. And actually, Kara, like... oh, you have to be careful.
Wow. Okay, Kara, I mean, I admire the ambition, we'll say that much, but there wasn't really a whole lot he was going to do there. I think maybe he thought Kits and Little Nick were pushing in a little bit earlier, but they don't arrive in time. They are sort of whittling away at Moo's HP, though, so maybe they can get him, but Moo's going to walk away. Kits falls, and now Little Nick will die as well. Moo dancing his way back to the fountain. That... they felt like they had to do something, right, ET? You've got to try and defend it, but they didn't really have the means to do so.
And it's a classic mistake. You over-rotate. You should have just cut your losses. They were really underestimating how much damage they had there. You didn't even have the lasso. He skipped lasso on the Batrider, I believe, with his skill build. So you make the rotation. It was a beautiful bait by Moo as well, not hiding or really not allowing them with any idea that Gunnar was as close as he was, even though he did stop showing for quite a bit there. They just overcommit. You over-rotate. You're going to start falling behind here. And you look at the net worth, and it is all 3 cores on 4 Zoomer's side right now, with only Kits trying to really beat up into that upper echelon.
Yeah, and this is just something we've come to expect from this 4 Zoomers lineup. They just play it so well, and 4 Zoomers, or excuse me, 4 Gringos, it's sort of a pick your poison moment, right? You have to choose. Do you fight and almost guaranteed lose that fight, or do you let us take these stacks in your jungle? Both choices suck for 4 Gringos, but they had to make that choice. And that's just the beauty of this lineup for 4 Zoomers. They can force you into a no-win situation, and it's so painful for 4 Gringos. They can still recover, though, obviously. They're down by about a little over 1,000 gold, but things can start going their way. Kits has gotten up that Flaming Lasso now, and I believe he finished off his bots. Yes, he did. So those are on their way out to him. So your Batrider is going to be quite a bit more maneuverable. Maybe they can look to get a bit more aggressive with those lasso plays now.
And that's where the only thing they need to worry about is if you can get this level 6 on Husky in a reasonable amount of time. If you can spoil Kits' first or second play with this lasso, especially with him moving towards the Clinks' side of the map, then it would just be disastrous for them. That is their saving grace. That is their one opportunity that they can count on at this stage of the game, because right now DNM is on full recovery mode. He's been able to hit a few neutral camps. He hasn't gotten any of those stacks, unfortunately, as we saw before, but he will be able to rely on his triangle at the end of the day, which it's just Sven facts, but it still just does not feel great. That lane was just brutal for him. It just Monkey King Undying. He just couldn't walk up at all.
And another sort of excellent move by 4 Zoomers, really just sort of talking him up over and over again. But you talked about that Sven Undying sort of play being a solid one, but also an obvious one for 4 Gringos, and that's a two-way street. It's so obvious once they see the Omni that 4 Zoomers see it coming as well, and they put together a lineup that was exceptionally good at just harassing the absolute crap out of the Sven. And speaking of harassment, Lil Nick, gotta be careful here. Tombstone's been thrown down. Ooh, Boundless is a bit off the mark, so he's not going to get hit up by the damage or the stun there, but they're still going to give this a go. Gunner's rotated his way in as well, and that's not a TP. Yeah, not a TP that Giant really wants to finish off there, as Lil Nick will be taken down, and 4 Zoomers, I don't know if they have the damage for this one. I don't know. Moo hits pretty hard, and they do have the creep wave. Actually, Envy's here. Never mind. They've got more than enough damage. And they will take that tier 1.
And it's a good move on paper. If Nick is actually able to get his level 6 top, that dive becomes a lot riskier for 4 Zoomers. You usually want to stick your 4 in that dead lane just because you can bait your opponents into what can be a really bad dive, but they're just so behind from the lanes that play isn't available to them. They're doing what they need to do, but they're just not living in the present situation, I think, enough. We're still waiting for a play from Kits. He's had to share a lot of the jungle that he's gotten through this bottom tower with the Sven, who is still getting kicked out and bullied, and the objective taking is so seamless from 4 Zoomers. All of their rotations have just always been very, very clean, and this mid tower is the next objective.
Z-Freak hanging out on that treetop. Does have the ult online, so they'll see if they can bait 4 Gringos into trying to defend this, but at this point, I don't think they're going to fall for this. They see Moo, they see Gunner, they could probably assume Husky's back if they didn't actually spot him going up the ramp, so This just does not feel like a situation they're going to be able to push forward for. They do use the glyph at least to try and slow it down. It'll be refreshed when or if that tower goes, but really, this is not a defendable situation. The TPs are coming through, though. They're going to try it. Maybe with these numbers, they could make something happen, but Lil Nick immediately going to get turned back. Very nearly dead. Can they finish him off? Yes, they can. Gunnar gets the first kill. Now they're in onto Giant. Vengeful Spirit needs to try and get away. Could go for the swap onto Kara. Will do exactly that. Kind of has to sacrifice his buddy, but if it gets him out, it'll be okay, but he may not be getting out after all. Giant's still going to get hit up by the Rolling Thunder on the retreat, trying to get away. He won't make it out. Gunnar and Z-Freak split the final two, and, well, turns out when we were saying it wasn't exactly a defendable situation, that rings a little bit too true there for 4 Gringos. 4 heroes dead. Tower still falls. At least the Sven wasn't involved. DNM was off farming, but this gap between them net worth-wise is just widening so significantly.
In all time that your slightly more active carry can do whatever he wants in these very safe jungle where there's absolutely no play. You show 4 heroes mid to try and defend that tower. I think Nick should have gotten punished even faster than what actually ended up happening. I think the balance strike was a little bit late from Z-Freak, but it ends up not mattering, and he doesn't feel confident enough to commit that Echo Slam because he knows that if he uses it, he's going to get false promised. Whatever target he ends up slamming is going to get saved immediately. Husky doesn't even get forced to use it, but you've got to throw something at your opponents here. You can't just sit idly with all of your ultimates at this stage of the game. We're just going to see them continue to play on your side of the map, and maybe Husky dies here, but I don't think so.
Moo's here. Gunner's coming in. Lil Nick is going to get rooted up. The zombies are sort of biting away at his ankles, and Nick is dead. Lil Nick's out, and at this point, we're 13 minutes in. There's 10 kills on the board for 4 Zoomers. We have not seen an Echo. We have not seen a lasso. We've seen one swap out from Giant, and I don't actually know if the Sven's used his ult. If he did, it was just for the purposes of farming. So, as you said, they're just kind of sitting there with their ults at the ready. I know it's not a favorable situation for them, but holding your fire at this point is dangerous in and of itself. As you see, speaking of dangerous, yeah, Kara, that's not your side of the map anymore. Unfortunately, it is supposed to be, but well, DD Gunner says otherwise. So 11 on the board here for the 4 Zoomers side, and 4 Gringos now, they're really going to start losing control of the map. They're going to start losing space for DNM, and even if you do take everything that you now currently have and allocate it to the Sven, where is Kit's going to farm then? Where are you going to get any farm for what was supposed to be this core Vengeful Spirit? Everything is just going to sort of trickle down in a not fantastic fashion as Giant, well, jumped in on in the north side jungle. They just can't maintain any sort of safe space right now.
And with a hero like this Monkey King in the 4 position, sometimes you would see it falter because you fall behind in levels, maybe you lose your offlane, but when you've won this successfully, you just feel like you have another core out on the map. It's a level 9 Monkey King. He has just not skipped a beat. He has so much. And Gunner, he's just doing the Gunner show. He is playing with runes. He's getting every single one. He's poking and prodding your opponents. He's playing it, making it so the DNM doesn't even want to show up in his jungle. Kara's just here. Oh, I think he might just die in a few seconds here. Yep.
Husky in there with the snipe, max level Purifying Flame, so he's able to get that kill. And going back to a little bit of what you were talking about just a moment ago with Z-Freak, he just, actually it's not quite to him yet, but he finished off a Mage Slayer on this position for a Monkey, so things are going to get a little bit more interesting with that pickup. For Gringos, maybe not going to be quite as consistent damage-wise as they maybe assume they would be if that Monkey's able to get in there and start whacking away at some of their cores. So really, it's just getting so difficult for them. And now Lil Nick, blown up immediately. Gunner and Husky are just on the hunt over and over and over again. Speaking of on the hunt, DNM, he's going to get hit up here. Moo is not actually pushing all the way forward there. So DNM is going to be able to create that separation. There was the other half of the pincer coming in from the east, but Gunner and Husky weren't quite in position in time, and they decide maybe we don't fight into 4 underneath their own tier 2.
And unfortunately, when you lose your tier 1 towers as early as you have, you got the swap on a Moo here. They're doing the play finally.
Blowing him up. Moo taken down. Gunner, though, is in, but he doesn't get the roll-off. He's hit by the lasso instead. Big play from 4 Gringos. Big play. Big play. Not quite big enough yet. Gunner's still getting out of there, but Lil Nick gonna hit him up with the Echo Slam, connecting onto 2. Z-Freak comes in, though, with the Wukong's command, but at this point, it is far too late. Gunner is just gonna tick down once that false promise comes to an end, and 4 Gringos get it done. 3 kills going their way. Kits is trying to chase. I don't think he can really catch up to Z-Freak at this point, but he's giving it an attempt. Does he have any means of cutting the tree down? Not really. Not until the Firefly's back up, at least. So he's just going to run Z-Freak off of that section of the map while his teammates take the Tier 1 tower, and this is what we've been waiting to see from For Gringos. Team fight into objective, clearing up some space for them.
And that was what I was just mentioning with the Vengeful Spirit. When you lose your tier 1s this early, that swap play is that much more difficult. But in the same area, Moo gives them the play. They have the perfect pecking order as well. They find the Undying not next to the Oracle. If the Undying is connected with that Oracle, I think that fight looks a lot differently, especially with Gunnar, who was not able to survive after that false promise. I think he could have gotten the roll if he was instead wanting to get false promise instead of just rolling thunder after he got that initial purge from the Fortune's End. It was a lot of greedy plays that got a lot of net worth now in the hands of For Gringos, as well as some key items actually being on the table here. They're going for double BKB, so it is a little bit risky because, again, when you get these double BKBs, if you miss that timing, you feel so much further behind. But if they can make something happen, if they can make it work, that is going to be their moment. And a beautiful echo from Nick. Blink Dagger reveal as well. Just the waiting game finally paying off. A little bit worried for DNM top, but
Yeah, he's got to try
if they can just bide their time.
Right. Not sure if he actually saw it or if that's just good instinct from him, but the pig pole being deployed just for that little bit of extra movement that really takes that play off the table entirely for Z-Freak. So DNM looking good, and yeah, as you said, ET, it always runs its risk going for the sort of BKBs at this point, sort of pre-20 minutes, but maybe they'll have the opening. You can send in the Bat and the Sven, you can get another good swap off maybe from your Vengeful Spirit, and if all goes well, they do have the capability. We just saw it. They were able to win that team fight. Obviously, For Zoomer's lineup was maybe a little bit staggered in that one. It wasn't sort of a full 5v5, but the fact still remains. They are very much capable of taking these heroes down, and For Zoomers have to be a little bit more respectful of that. You see them actually focusing on Roshan here, looking to get the Aegis just in case they fall into a similar scenario in the next couple of minutes. They want to be able to take a fight knowing they have 2 lives to work with.
Yeah, and once they get this onto... Really, it could go either way here, whether you want it on Gunnar or Envy. Envy will end up taking it, but Envy has a full Gleipnir completed. This is a little bit of a separate build that some Clinks have decided to go for. Giant also finished up the Item Scepter, so you will have those extra lives available to him. It's very obnoxious, but, well...
Not quite going to get the full use out of it if you get taken down this early, as he is isolated from his teammates. So now they're just going to basically go onto the illusion, trying to take him down. Swap play, though, will get him away, but his teammate ends up dying at the same time. Envy was able to run down Lil Nick, and now they're looking for a little bit more. They're trying to actually chase onto DNM as well. Can they lock him down? Gunnar comes in, Gleipnir comes in for the root, and this is not good for the Sven. He tries to get himself out, but trapped up inside of the Wukong's command, he will fall. I believe they cleaned up Giant's illusion as well, and, well, hitting him up before the BKBs are finished, unfortunately. So the Sven can't get himself away, and a nice response from 4 Zoomers. Last fight didn't quite go maybe the way that they wanted it to, but they don't panic, they regroup, and they put together a pretty impressive fight there to regain control.
Yeah, and again, like you said, it's right before the BKBs are finished up. I believe Kintz was able to finish his on the Bat Rider, but you don't have it on the Sven yet. This is where this Gleipnir just feels so annoying to deal with. You can't really do anything in these fights. They need another swap play. They need to actually get going here.
Swap onto Envy.
Okay.
Follow it up with the stun. There's going to be that false promise, though. So Envy not dead yet. They're trying to sort of allow him to turn around and take this fight. His Gunnar's coming in as well. Envy's just going to stand his ground. He's healed up at the end. Giant's the one who falls, and well, if you're 4 Gringos, I don't really know if you want this anymore. Giant goes for one last swap play. Envy's going to take maybe a tower shot or two, but it's really not going to matter too much. But DNM, he wants back in, but while he's trying to pick his target, Lil Nick is actually getting jumped in on. They're going to try to make this play happen anyway, but DNM's on the low ground. His teammate's stuck up high. Little Nick will fall. Meanwhile, the Oracle, I believe, got hit up by that lasso, but they don't have the damage to bring him down. And for 4 Gringos, this is all falling apart. Gleipnir comes in. There's going to be that Guardian Angel coming out from Kara, just desperately trying to hold this line, turn things around as DNM tries to get moved, doesn't have the damage, while Gunnar just goes into the base to finish off Kits, and this is looking pretty horrible. Kara's going to get blinked in on. The Omni has the Purification, though, so maybe he could try to go for move with the turnaround play. Not going to be able to make it happen, and now DNM, he's going to get jumped in on as well. He cuts down Z-Freak's tree, but really, Z-Freak was not the threat. He was just the scout. 4 Zoomers go in. Triple kill for Gunnar. They finish off what is a delayed 5-man wipe, but a wipe all the same, and 4 Gringos. I mean, we're seeing maybe a little bit more resistance than we did in game one in terms of the teamfight execution, but the end result is still very much in their opponent's favor.
And unfortunately, Kits, with his BKB committed for that lasso, was just separate from DNM. DNM was not able to right-click that lasso target, so they don't find a kill there. They don't find a kill towards the Earthshaker as well. Nick, unfortunately, isn't able to find any slam, and he does have that max level Aftershock. He has that max level Fissure, but when you see such a level starred Earthshaker, you need to get that damage coming from another source, and it has to be the Sven, but it's just four Zoomers pushing the issue exactly when they know they can. There's still no play for them to make on for Gringos. I think they still need to play this scrappier style of Dota. They need to find a lot more of these pickoffs, but four Zoomers are so good at finding them in these side lanes, finding them in their jungle. They just need to stop getting caught off guard. It's getting to a point where they are really starting to fall behind here. I don't think it's completely over just yet. For 22-4, it's going to feel pretty bad. And Giant's just dead again, but...
Well, he tried, but only so much he could do there. Double damage on Envy is really going to sort of break that one up as Giant goes down, and now they're chasing after the Illusion. Another swap comes in, though, so maybe he makes it home. Kara's going to hit him up there with the Grace as well, but not enough. Envy can't get the kill. Okay, so Giant will keep the Illusion alive. Honestly, at this point, it's going all the way back to base, so you kind of lose some of the benefits of it anyway, but he could TP himself out, maybe join a fight, and then respawn at that location, so there's a potential benefit, but I just don't know if 4 Gringos are going to find the fight that they want right now. You mentioned this earlier on, they cannot really afford to be the team reacting to the initiations from their opponents, but they don't really have much of a choice right now, unless they really just want to group up for some sort of smoke play. I mean, Lil Nick does have one, so they could give it an attempt, and at this point I feel like they might need to try something in that sort of wheelhouse, in that sort of drastic style, just to break up the pace of this game, as we do see the smoke coming out. It's not a full 5-man, but Kits, Giant, and Kara will try to make a move.
And if DNM stayed bottom for just a little bit longer, maybe you could bait. This was really their only option, was to smoke on the Aegis timer. If they find Envy during this vulnerable stage of the game, then maybe that is their opening to try and get something going for them. But now you see the BKB queued up. If they wait another 5 minutes, then Roche is going to be the next objective to follow. And I still don't think that they can fight into 4 Zoomers. They need to actually get these pickups here. And Kits.
Oh, Kits. BKB comes out. Good swap from Giant, though, getting him away from the initial threat. Kara kind of pushing his way forward as well as they look for the last one. They've got it. They're in onto Moo. Can they bring him down in time? DNM is going to be able to apply the right clicks, and Moo does get taken down. But now Zfreak going for the Wukong's command. Gunner is sort of rolling his way through with the Rolling Thunder as well. But DNM, he's hitting pretty damn hard. He takes down Husky. Giant will fall, but his Illusion is still right in the middle of this fight. And well, poor Zoomers maybe getting forced back a little bit. Zfreak's able to make it out. Gunner is looking like he's going to get away unless Giant can stun him up. But at this point, his teammates are going in the other direction, so they're not going to be able to run down Gunner. I don't think they're catching up to Zfreak either. He's sort of hidden in the trees. But to be honest, that is one of the better fights we've seen from 4 Gringos in this... Oh no, in this game is DNM gets his TP canceled. Bleepnir's going to root him up, and Envy's going for it. Gunner's in for the swashbuckle as well, and can DNM get away? Lil Nick is here. Kara's coming in to help out as well. They're going to try and get their teammate out of here, but Lil Nick actually dropping the ult. They're going to turn it around, looking for Gunner, but Gunner... Well, popping that Rolling Thunder, blinking away as soon as it ends. He's not dead just yet, but they have eyes on him in the trees. Zfreak's going to try to run interference, but there's only so much he can do here. Gunner is just straight up stuck as he will fall, and now Zfreak's going to get swapped back into the fight as well. DNM got the first kill. He'll get the second as well. Well, don't look now, but 4 Gringos showing us some signs of life. They basically doubled their kill count over the last couple of minutes, and DNM has moved up to that top net worth spot. So I won't say that the comeback has fully started just yet, but they're starting to take steps in that direction.
And that's Omni Sven, baby. That's all it is. It's very simple. You try to dive him, he gets heavenly graced, and then the fight absolutely turns on its head. I don't think Gunner really needed to die there. I think he could have just made his exit along with Eternal Envy, and actually Envy. Oh no, Nick.
Envy.
He didn't have vision on Kits. That would have been a really important kill, but they're not going to get it. But this is good. They've staggered their respawns. They might want to look for a fight very soon here if they can get it. They have a Blink Dagger on DNM now. He can actually look for those backline targets.
Oh, there he goes, jumping in. Moo, nice blink away though, but here comes Lil Nick. Fissure could keep them in position if he wants to commit for it, but they did throw the Tombstone onto the high ground. The Gleipnir comes out as well as Envy turns around, dishing out the damage. Little Nick taken down, but Moo, he's going to get stunned up. Not dead yet. He gets hit by the false prompts, though, so he's just going to charge his way forward. And DNM, it is time to go.
Sure.
DNM is out. Kara is out. They, I believe, killed the Illusion on the Venge, but really the more important aspects of the lineup got away, or maybe they didn't. Kits actually gets bashed up there on the absolute edge of Swashbuckle range. That's just unfortunate, but Kits is going to pop the BKB, trying to get away. Gunner, though, is right on his heels. He's got the blink up in a few more seconds. He is going to push his way forward, and Kits, well, he's got the bounties. That's good, but it is going to cost him his life. Don't really think he had an alternative there. He was probably getting caught no matter what, so may as well greed out before you die, as he does get 2 bounties, but Four Zoomers are able to find a very big kill, especially after that previous fight really only got them onto maybe 1 or 2 of the supports.
And it's so unfortunate for Four Gringos. You have the maybe kill on Eternal Envy bottom. You have the kill on Moo there, where if DNM just believes in himself a little bit more, pumps the God Strength, and walks up the high ground, he doesn't get that blank out, and the fight doesn't get nearly as bad. Once they get set up on Four Gringos, they really are stuck in it, and that's where Four Zoomers, that is their lineup. Their lineup is meant to keep you stuck in all of their damage for as long as possible. They've got the monkeys, they've got the skeleton archers, and they've been a little bit slower to get some of these objectives in this game, but it's just because these kills have showed themselves over and over to them. They keep on finding the kills that they want, so they're going to keep on taking them, and fortunately for Four Gringos, they weren't able to pressure these buildings as much during that God Strength period where DNM couldn't have showed up to any of those fights, but we are on a little bit of a timer here. Unfortunately, Envy as well, able to finish off that BKB. They have to be so perfect with their prioritization. They need to finish off the heroes that they start on, and they need to find Husky. They can't allow this Undying Oracle to run around in these fights anymore, so I don't really know what they're waiting for. They need to find something, and I guess here's the smoke up.
Okay. Looking for the big play here to try and turn this one around. DNM's going to lead the way with that Blink Dagger, so let's see what they can find. Crit Stick picked up by the Sven. Obviously doesn't have enough for the full data list just yet, but the damage output is going to become the priority for him, and it very much needs to be in these fights. When DNM is able to hack away at those targets, whether it's in the lasso or stunned up by Giant or Nick, that is when they can win the fights. Without that damage, they just can't do much of anything. So DNM is going to push his way forward. There's the God Strength. They're going to jump in onto Z-Freak first. They cut down the tree, keeping him stunned. They need a little bit more damage, and they've got it. Z-Freak dead. Envy, though, working with the double damage rune. He's going to pop the BKB here to avoid that stun, but now he'll turn around. Gleipnir comes in, rooting up a couple. They've taken down Kara. That is an unfortunate lasso attempt from Kits. He was so low on HP that by the time he gets it off, he's pretty much dead immediately. So Kits will fall, Giant dead. Blink forward for Moo, gets him in onto DNM. And that one's going to blow up in Four Gringos' faces. They do get Z-Freak at the very start of the fight, but beyond that, not a whole lot going for them. 4-for-1 trade in Four Zoomers' favor, and now Roche number 2 going to be going their way.
And they just forced something that they really didn't need to. If they wanted to break into the shrine area, you have to place this ward up here. You have to gain vision control. No.
Nick! Oh, Nick! He got it! Snatching the Aegis, he is not getting out of here, unfortunately, but he stole it. Well, I mean, he's immediately dead a second time, but no Aegis for Four Zoomers, right? Looking at the bright side, and it is a sick play from Lil Nick getting in there to just nab that one, and honestly, as good as that play was for Little Nick, that should not have happened. There should have been no opportunity. The Aegis is on the ground for 1 to 2 seconds after they kill it, and no one picked it up in time. But if you leave that door open, Little Nick jumps in, and it does cost him his life, but you snatch that away.
Yeah, and I'm spamming my Little Nick voice lines over here in the booth. Can't hear him, unfortunately, but that is a really big play. It gives you this opportunity onto the Clinks even further. Unfortunately, it looks like Kara is going to run around and try and survive here, but yeah, he's caught. But DNM, he found the backline.
Jumped in onto the backline, took down Husky. 1-for-1 trade there on those supports. So It's not a bad play, and now they did stun up Gunner. DNM was actually hitting up Moo, and now he's disarmed. That's going to force out the BKB, but he's still trying to fight his way through this. They need reinforcements. Where is the rest of the lineup? Little Nick is making his way over, but he's got to get here quite a bit faster. Giant's already gone down. Kits is in some trouble as well. Trapped up inside of the Wukong's command. He does not have a whole lot of HP left to work with as he's trying to run away. Moo, though, will finish him off with the decay, and DNM up to the north gets run down as well. So it looked like for a moment... Oh, okay. For a moment, they were ready to sort of make a maneuver there, but it's really going to kind of fizzle out for them. They get Moo, they get Husky, but it cost them almost the entirety of their lineup, but now it may actually be the entirety of that lineup as Little Nick is going to get rooted up inside of his own base. Gunner finishes him off.
And Gunner is so good at knowing what he can and cannot do. I just watched a Pangolier bully a Sven for 15 seconds. He already saw how early he committed that BKB, knows that with the shield crash, he's really not taking that much damage from DNM, even though they didn't have the Oracle there. Not a shred of doubt in Gunner's face, and Giant is doing a good job trying to delay through it, but Giant, he let himself respawn. And now cleaned up.
Well, it was a fantastic distraction right up until the last second. I think he was anticipating Gunner was going to kill him, but Gunner just hands up, doesn't go for it, knows that the duration there is sort of running low, so why would I kill that illusion and let you go back to the fountain when I can just sort of force you to respawn here? And Giant unfortunately gets punished for it. He does have a buyback though, one of the handful up on that poor Gringo's side, so he can get himself back in, but at this point, this is looking a little bit rough for the poor Gringo's side. Tier 3 tower already gone, Rax under attack, and I don't really know if they're willing to make this jump in. They need the lasso, it's not up for about 15 more seconds, and well, DNM obviously has to find the opportunity to jump in, but that Blink Dagger's getting sort of canceled up by the archers.
It's simply
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's no openings. There are a lot of towers in the bottom lane, so Megas isn't really on the table yet, but you just see, as soon as they get done with an area where all of the objectives are gone, they move to the next area. The net worth lead is starting to become a massive problem. I really think the only way out of this game for Gringos is if DNM can finish up this Daedalus. If he gets the Daedalus, maybe he's able to find this burst onto these heroes, but he needs to kill so many heroes with this BKB. Here we go, DNM. He's looking.
Where are you going, man? Where are you going? Fights over to the east. Kits gets jumped in on immediately. They will take him down. DNM, though, trying to get onto Husky first, but Husky blinks away. Not going to get caught out. Giant will now fall, and this is going so poorly. Kara will die. Venge Illusion's trying to make something happen as DNM does finally get his target, but
GG.
Yeah, it's way too late. DNM gets the kill, but yeah, Moo will sort of finish him off there, and I don't know. It felt a little unnecessary. As you were mentioning, it felt like their best shot would be try to allow DNM to finish off this Daedalus and then see what you can do with that damage later on down the line. Instead, felt like they tried to force something there, and unfortunately for them, 4 Zoomers were unbelievably ready for it. And Husky in particular, right? He knows DNM's probably coming after me, sort of steps to the side. Once he knows for sure the Sven is coming after him, that blink comes about a half second before the Sven would have been on top of him, and DNM basically... Oh, no. DNM doesn't participate in the fight. Lil Nick, unfortunately, didn't really participate in that one either. Whiffing with the ult, and that may have been their last chance now. That bottom lane is going to get wiped out. The Megas will be picked up, and this should pretty much spell out the end of this game. Yep, there's the GG.
Yep. What can you do is the perfect embodiment of this game. I really think from the draft, it didn't feel like they were actually that far behind. I think they really underestimated how bad that top lane ended up being. There are very few games where you see DNM having twice as less CS as his opponent offlaner, and even the offlaner having more denies than he has last hits. That was just an absolute working from Moo and Z-Freak, and there was really a very slow road to recovery there. I think Nick had some really nifty plays. He was able to keep his team in the game a little bit longer, but aside from those plays, we didn't see them do the swap into Sven nearly enough. Your lineup is made to try and get 4 Zoomers separated from each other. You need to separate the 4 Zoomers lineup. If they get to play as a unit, you cannot do anything. If 4 Zoomers get the time to get the archers, get the tomb, get the monkeys down, you can't run into them. Clearly, in those last 3 fights, we saw Kits trying to find a lasso and then dying to everything that was already placed on the ground. I think they just missed their timing and then were forced to play a game that really felt lost really for a large part of this game. They had their 1-2 kills where maybe you're able to kill Husky first, and then, oh, Moo's right next to him, we're able to snowball it. But the two heroes that were never under any threat were this Pango and this Clinks. There was just nothing you could do versus these cores.
Yeah, just no pressure applied. Envy ends the game with 0 deaths there, 10-0 and 19 on that Clinks. So, I don't know. As you mentioned, for Gringos, just by virtue of, I'd say, the strength of the heroes they picked up, we did see those 1 or 2 moments where here is the strength of what they put together when it all comes together for them. But it's one thing to sort of have those plays here and there. You need to be able to do it consistently, and for Gringos simply could not make that happen. But, well, to be honest, this is kind of what we expected, right? For Gringos, in its current configuration, a very new team going up against a 4-Zoomers squad that, while they won't be going to TI, are still considered to be one of the stronger squads in the North American region. So the result is pretty much what we expected it to be, but still a little bit disappointing that 4Gringos couldn't maybe surprise us here and steal a game from their rival.
Well, and a little bit of a silver lining is that Pingu's watching. Even though he's not playing today, he's writing down all of these things in his notebook. And that's something that NA teams are really good at whenever they do take these pretty hard losses. They take their licks, they look at the drafts, they analyze what their opponents are doing, and they improve very, very quickly. So I'm curious to see what 4Gringos will be able to pull out as this tournament progresses, because I definitely think that is a aspect of a lot of NA teams where they do improve so quickly off their losses. It makes just really fun to watch, especially when these tournaments are going as long as this one is. So the improvement is definitely going to be there for this team.
Right. And we will be seeing much more for Gringos. Obviously, this is day 1 of the group stage, so an unfortunate 0-2 defeat for them, but they will have plenty of opportunities to sort of hit their stride, get in rhythm, show us something stronger in the future. On the other side of the matchup, for Zoomers, taking care of business, doing what we expected. 2-0 start for them to put them at the top of those group stage standings 1 series in. And this, I would say, is 4Zoomers' chance to really show out themselves, along with maybe No Ping, come into this event kind of near the top of the field, especially with some of the TI-bound squads not participating in this event because of their own sort of boot camps and travel. So if you're 4Zoomers, now is your moment. This is your time to shine. Make a statement here against your regional rivals. 4Zoomers definitely did that to start us off. So with that, we will be moving into our second series of the day in just a little bit here. We are going to be switching things up. It'll be No Ping taking on D2 Hustlers. D2 Hustlers, their first of 2 series on the schedule for today. So we're going to get to take a look at them. They also have a bit of an updated lineup from the last time we saw them. We'll go over that a little bit more once we get into the draft, but that will be that next matchup. So we'll be bringing No Ping versus D2 Hustlers your way in just a little bit. Before that, though, we're going to step away for a bit of a commercial break. So stick around. Series 2 is coming up in just a little bit.